Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, Master's in Counseling Psychology, professional astrologer, psychic, healer, and yogi. In this episode, I'll discuss the eclipses of October through November 2022, which are a solar eclipse on October 25th, followed by a full moon lunar eclipse on November 8th, 2022. Stay tuned to find out how these eclipses will affect you. Welcome to eclipse season. This episode is on the eclipses of October through November 2022. It's Scorpio season. Here we go. Eclipses are harbingers of big changes. We kick off the autumnal eclipse season here in the Northern Hemisphere, or the spring eclipse season in the Southern Hemisphere, with a solar eclipse on October 25th, 2022, followed by a full moon lunar eclipse on November 8th, 2022. This is a powerful window of time, which will have repercussions in the upcoming months as we witness changes in our personal and collective lives. I want to remind listeners of the significance of eclipses. You can go back and listen to my previous episodes on the eclipses of 2020 and 2021. But in astrology, through the ages, eclipses were considered big game changers. They occur up to 4 to 6 times a year, usually in a cluster of 2 or 3 throughout 1 month, and then the companion eclipses occur 6 months later. Usually, we experience 4 eclipses in 1 year. However, there can be up to 6 eclipses in 1 year, as occurred in 2020, which is probably why it was such a difficult year. We were eclipsed. This year, 2022, we have 4 eclipses. We had the solar eclipse on April 30th, followed by a lunar eclipse on May 16th in the spring season here in the Northern Hemisphere. And now we're in the fall season, which brings an eclipse on October 25th and November 8th. Eclipses trigger big changes. Why are they such a big deal, both personally and collectively? Well, they definitely affect you if it is around your birthday or even 6 months exactly away from your birthday, because they're going to activate the sun degree in your birth chart if it's your birthday. But they may also affect other planets in our chart if they fall at the same degree of another personal planet. Let's say we have Venus on that degree, or we have Mars. This is all astrological jargon, by the way. But it's good to know if you're going to have a planet activated by the degree of an eclipse, because you will get triggered and have some changes in your life in the coming 6 months. It's good to know if any of the upcoming eclipses are going to affect you personally by activating a personal planet in your chart. In general, what eclipses tend to do is they can take things away from us. They can hide something from you, or even reveal something that was previously hidden. Lunar eclipses tend to take things away, while solar eclipses tend to expose or reveal something that was hidden. Eclipses affect the collective consciousness, our country, our society, and the world, as well as us personally. They mark turning points for collective humanity. They indicate change or big shifts are coming, for better or for worse. And they also show us what we need to look at for the next 6 months following the eclipse. In other words, what arena of life. And with Scorpio and Taurus eclipses, it's all about the money, honey. I've noticed it usually takes the month or even 2 months out from an eclipse to see the result of that eclipse pattern, whether it is in your personal life or in the collective life. When discussing eclipses, it is important to explain the significance of the zodiac signs in which they are occurring. The new moon solar eclipse of October 25th, 2022, occurs in the sign Scorpio, with both the sun and moon in the sign of the scorpion, also known as the serpent. The lunar eclipse of November 8th is a full moon in Taurus with the sun in Scorpio. As you can see, the signs of Taurus and Scorpio are directly affected by these upcoming eclipses. Yep, Taurus and Scorpio, you don't get a break. These are the companion pair of eclipses to the Taurus Scorpio eclipses of April through May 2022, when there was a new moon solar eclipse with the new moon in Taurus on April 30th, and the full moon lunar eclipse with the sun in Taurus and moon in Scorpio on May 16th, 2022. So if you are a Taurus or Scorpio, hang tight. Your world will get rocked. But everyone has Taurus and Scorpio in their birth charts someplace. So it's important to know where those signs are located in your natal chart. And if you do have any planets there and what house rules. For instance, I know Scorpio rules my first house of self and Taurus is my seventh house of relationship. So those are areas I'm going to keep an eye on. But to find out yourself, you want to consult a seasoned astrologer, Jill Jardine, who has been reading charts for many moons. Contact me at jilljardineastrology.com to see what the eclipses have in store for you. Think back to what has happened in your life since these eclipses in April and May. Did you take a loss financially or through death of someone? Did you lose a job? Did you lose a friendship or relationship? Or did you try to start something new and just it didn't succeed? And certainly the financial situation, personally and collectively, is a roller coaster ride of ups and downs for the past months. Check out how high the prices of everything still are. We are in the grips of an inflationary, recessionary economy, and there seems to be no light at the end of the tunnel. And there won't be with the Scorpio Taurus eclipses. We have at least 6 more months to make our way through this economic roller coaster. So, you Taurians and Scorpios are on high alert due to an eclipse pattern in your signs. In astrology, Scorpio and Taurus are money signs. Taurus in our chart indicates our value system and resources, which include money we make, what we like to spend our money on, and how we cultivate resources and what we value. Scorpio in astrology relates to shared resources, money we receive from others, partners' money, also the realm of death, transformation, and rebirth. So, with the solar eclipse of October 25th activating Scorpio, there will be many issues regarding money or lack of money, resources, and the economy. This eclipse precurses an economic crash and comes on the heels of the end of a Shemitah year, which heralds financial challenges. Go back and listen to my previous podcast where I talked about Shemitah, this Hebrew New Year or a Hebrew year that can be challenging. It occurs every 7 years. Scorpio is a water sign. So money can flow in and flow out like the tides. But if you keep spending and earning, the flow continues to grow. On October 25th, 2022, there will be a partial solar eclipse at 6:49 a.m. Eastern Time in the US. The partial solar eclipse can be seen in Europe, Southwest Asia, North and East Africa. This is a new moon in Scorpio. Although it is a new moon and classically a time to plant seeds, not during an eclipse. Eclipses obscure and take things away. Many New Agers and wannabe astrologers post on social media about placing your crystals or your money or your wallets outside to catch the rays of the moon during a new moon or to launch projects at this time. Don't do it, especially during a spooky Scorpio solar eclipse. Solar eclipses can be harsher than lunar eclipses because the moon is always new or dark, which removes the moon's vital energy from our environment at that time. However, the most important factor is whether or not the eclipse is visible to us. Its negative effects are heightened if it is visible or it crosses over your geographic location. So again, Europe, South and West Asia, North and East Africa are in the line of the eclipse path. The area that an eclipse passes over will experience big shifts in the coming 6 months and even some earth changes as well as political and governmental issues. Heads up, Europe. Uh-oh, is this the collapse of the European Union economy or the disappearance of cash in favor of digital currency? I hope not, but let's see what happens in Europe in the coming 6 months through the end of May 2023. In Vedic astrology, eclipses are especially considered inauspicious events and have been for thousands of years. Our ancient predecessors viewed eclipses as harbingers of hard times or big changes. There's a reason why the ancients, our ancestors, feared eclipses. For one thing, they saw them as big fires in the sky, or they would see the sun disappear or the moon disappear and a ring around the sun. They were quite visual spectacles for the ancient people. And being able to view this without even eyeglasses or telescopes, spooky. So, usually after eclipses in ancient times, until this day, there were regime changes. For in the past, if there was an eclipse, sometimes the natives knew the country would be beset by invaders who came and burned down their villages and set up a new order. Eclipses were precursors to weather anomalies or big weather changes or earth changes such as earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, and other weather phenomena. And that is even true till today. In Vedic astrology, there is an ancient Indian legend that an eclipse occurs when the shadowy demon, Rahu Ketu, gets his revenge on the sun and the moon by consuming them and stealing their luminous rays. In astrology, the sun and moon are luminaries. And we know that the rays of the sun and moon are important for life to flourish here on Earth. In our personal astrology chart, the sun is the significator for our soul, and the moon is our subconscious or emotional self. During an eclipse, the light of the luminaries is distorted and it twists in our psyche. The pure light and creative energy goes dark during the eclipse and for a few days after. The truth, according to Vedic astrology, is that eclipses can be a terrible time to start new projects or make any key decisions about projects, relationships, jobs, or any other important thing in the material world. The lack of light during eclipses make for malefic energies to be at play. New beginnings or fortunate startups are best launched when blessed with light, ideally the light of a healthy full moon and daytime sun. With Rahu and Ketu gobbling up this light, things could turn negative and creepy. So be careful on the day of an eclipse or the few days surrounding it to not initiate any important new projects. Do not sign contracts, make deals, or do any other material activity if you have the option to wait. Perhaps just view an eclipse as a tricked out, weird, and warped Mercury retrograde. The difference is an eclipse still can affect electronics and communications like during Mercury retrograde, but it also throws a whammy at people and circumstances, making things bizarre and eerie and strange. In Vedic astrology, tantric yogis believe that special spiritual practices are enhanced during eclipses and that personal transformations can happen far more quickly than normal. So get your meditation and mantra on. Eclipses are a great time to stay in, meditate, and do your inner work. In fact, they provide an especially rich opportunity to connect with spirits because the veils are thin. This is especially enhanced during Scorpio season when the veils between dimensions are lifted and quite thin, and otherworldly energies are right there pulsing in. The new moon Scorpio solar eclipse is a partial eclipse, so the darkness is less, but the shadows are looming. Perhaps many may feel their wealth has been eclipsed at this new moon with the rising costs of everything and drops in stock market and cryptocurrency markets. The sun and moon in Scorpio are conjunct Venus during this solar eclipse. With Venus implicated in this eclipse, love and money will be on everybody's minds. Fear of impending lack of money or loss of relationships surface. Relationships will be tested as Venus in Scorpio is the detective seeking out the truth. Affairs and clandestine love activities will be exposed. This conjunction of Venus with the sun and moon in Scorpio sounds the death knell for relationships that need to be dissolved or no longer serve, or they've lost that love and feeling. Venus conjunct this eclipse can help with clarifying needs around love and money. It can herald the coming of a new age when our needs will be met if we can connect to the higher laws of prosperity and right relationship, or lift our consciousness out of the third dimensional lack or restriction into fifth dimensional love and abundance. This solar eclipse new moon on October 25th occurs at 2 degrees Scorpion. The Sabian symbol for 2 degrees Scorpio is, quote, a delicate bottle of perfume lies broken, releasing its fragrance, unquote. The keynote is the accidental nature of opportunities that impel one to break away from a past, the remembrance of which is still poignant and cherished. It's also significant of a memory of the graciousness of the past one has surrendered. So it means that we're surrendering these old memories, we're releasing them, we honor the sweetness and the healing that they have provided, but we also realize it's time to move on. A new and greater realization usually demands the sacrifice of something which has brought loveliness and fragrance to a lesser form of living and feeling. Old feelings are poignantly remembered even as one moves into a new and wider sphere of experience. Old relationships may be left behind, but the memory of their essential moments lingers on, perhaps strong and nostalgic. This symbol implies something fragile and beautiful that may somehow be shattered or lost. It can also show the need to let things go and not hang on to them to the point of shattering and loss. So, very interesting at this solar eclipse, which is also solar or new moons do indicate new beginnings. But as I said, they will be stalled because they're eclipsed. But still, it is a turning point and a crossroads of releasing what isn't working in your life and being open to go to the next level. Bye bye, third dimension. Hello, fifth dimension. So there will be a lot of transitioning going on around and after this solar eclipse. Remember, Scorpio does rule death. So again, we're in a pattern of a lot of people leaving their bodies and a lot of major transformations and rebirthing coming on the other side. Now let's talk about the lunar eclipse that is happening on November 8th, 2022 at 6:02 a.m. on the East Coast. This is a total lunar eclipse. Taurus full moon occurs at 16 degrees Taurus with the sun at 16 degrees Scorpio. There you go, Taurus Scorpio, tag you're it again. The total lunar eclipse is visible in North and East Europe, Asia, Australia, North America, and South America. Wow, pretty much everybody's getting a hit with that one. There is much percolating beneath the surface during this eclipse. And with Saturn in Aquarius squaring the full moon in Taurus, the fallout could be Saturnian, with perhaps more draconian measures trying to be implemented. A cluster of 4 planets in Scorpio, including the South Node, Mercury, Sun, and Venus, are precursors to more death and releasing. Any way you slice it, we will see many people passing away and more attempts to sing the praises of pharmaceutical interventions that trigger latent miasms to diseases. So, more people getting sick, unfortunately. This is a full moon in Taurus with the sun in Scorpio lunar eclipse. It's intense because of so many planets participating in this astrological cluster. Wah, 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 wah. Uranus, Moon, North Node, Mercury, Sun, Venus, and Saturn are all trying to get their planetary points across. The Moon and Uranus are exactly conjunct at 16 degrees Taurus, within 3 degrees of the North Node, Rahu, opposing Mercury, and the Sun conjunct, and Venus in Scorpio. Saturn in Aquarius throws a tight T square to the full moon. This is going to be a complicated time. Of course, I had to look up what the Sabian symbol is for 16 degrees Taurus, the degree of this full moon and Uranus at this lunar eclipse. Taurus 16 degrees is, quote, an old teacher fails to interest his pupils in traditional knowledge, unquote. The keynote, the inadequacy of past knowledge in times of crisis. Traditional concepts are not adequate to confirm the new conditions of existence. Thus, whenever this symbol comes to our attention, it indicates that even the most consecrated tradition does not have the real answer to the problems. I guess we do see some kind of crisis coming, and we should prepare because we're coming into territory that hasn't been experienced. According to this Sabian symbol, we don't have the protocols. So this is where you have to tune in to your inner wisdom. Forewarned is forearmed. I bet here in the US it has something to do with what happens on the election, because this full moon eclipse occurs on election day in the United States, November 8th. So there will be some issues with the elections around the country. Polarization flares up, and everybody thinks they are in the right camp. The economic trajectory is grim. There could be a historic event triggered around this time as Saturn at 18 degrees Aquarius activates through a stressful square aspect the degree of the epic Uranus North Node Mars conjunction of 18 degrees Taurus, which occurred in early August 2022. In astrology, Scorpio and Taurus are money signs. Taurus in our chart indicates our value system and resources. And as I mentioned, Scorpio refers to shared resources, money we receive from others, partners' money, death, transformation, and rebirth. So this whole financial axis of Taurus and Scorpio is activated by this eclipse. This eclipse precurses economic concerns through 2023. Scorpio, as well as indicating shared finances, is ruled by the planet Pluto, whose domain is death, rebirth, and transformation. So this Scorpio Taurus full moon eclipse portends more death, with people leaving their bodies in the next few months. During the upcoming months, we will notice that more celebrities are passing away, which indicates that in the general population, more people are dying. This is a time of decision for souls to stay on the earth plane, to do their work, or transition to the higher dimensions without their physical bodies. Many will leave their bodies, but many will decide to ride the waves of transformation on Earth as she evolves from her third dimensional density into a fifth dimensional higher frequency. This eclipse provides the energies for rapid transformation and evolution. So we will see many people awakening in the coming months and early 2023. Hold on to your hat. We're in for a wild ride. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. Make sure you download, subscribe, share, and give us a 5-star review. This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, sending healing vibrations through the quantum field.